Deep in the Himalayas, there's a king who isn't just known by his royal title. Nope, he's known by a name given to him by his own people. Today, we're going to dive into the really unique story of Bhutan's king.
So let's just start with a big question, right? In the 21st century, what does it actually mean to be a king? Is it all about ceremonies and old traditions? Or, could it be something more?
Well, in the small kingdom of Bhutan, the answer is pretty clear. It means being the people's king, a leader whose entire focus is built around the well-being of his citizens. So let's unpack what that really looks like.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start by getting to know the people's king himself. Then we'll dig into his core philosophy, see how he actually puts it into practice, and check out how it all held up during a major crisis. And finally, we'll talk about why this whole approach is so important right now.
Okay, first things first. Who is the people's king? We're talking about His Majesty King Jigme Khesar Namgyel Wangchuck of Bhutan. And that title, well, it's not just for show. It was earned through a very specific approach to leadership that we're about to get into.
So what's the foundation for all this? It really all comes down to one powerful idea, a people-centric philosophy.
So what does that even mean, people-centric? Basically, it's a way of leading that puts the health, happiness, and concerns of the citizens at the absolute center of every single decision. It's not an afterthought, it's literally the starting point for everything.
And these aren't just, nice words on a poster. They are the actual foundation for his rule. His philosophy is totally anchored on love and compassion, and it's put into action through things like generosity, wisdom, sacrifice, and a really clear vision for his country. It's a genuine blueprint for how to govern. Which leads us to our next point. How do you take a philosophy like that and make it real? Well, you do it by being accessible and present. A king among his people. This is what really sets him apart. We're talking about a level of royal accessibility that is, well, it's pretty much unheard of. He has completely changed the game when it comes to the relationship between a monarch and an everyday citizen. And when I say he connects, I mean he really connects. This is a king who will literally trek for days through some pretty rough terrain just to reach the most remote villages and listen. He doesn't just send someone, he goes himself. He's there at local festivals, sure, but he's also there when things get tough, offering comfort during disasters and personally making sure the relief efforts are actually working. And this accessibility isn't just about being there in person. It also extends to this incredible level of royal transparency. He brings the entire nation into his life and his decisions. I mean, think about this for a second. He went on national television to announce his own marriage. He did it again to share the news that his son was on the way. These are super personal moments, right? But he chose to share them with his people, treating them like family. And that builds a bond of trust that's just so powerful. So, having a philosophy of care and a practice of being present, that's awesome. But the real ultimate test of leadership, that almost always comes during a crisis. And for Bhutan, that test was the fight against COVID-19. They say a leader's true character really shows up when the pressure is on. For King Jigme Khesar, the global pandemic was exactly that moment. And his response was basically a masterclass in his people-centric philosophy. He set up a national resilience fund right away. He launched a special relief program called 𝕿𝖊𝖊 to get money directly to people who lost their jobs. He was personally involved in safety measures and made absolutely sure the frontline workers knew he had their backs. And again, his involvement was so personal. He wasn't just directing things from a palace. He was making sure people had vitamin supplements, arranging shelter for those who needed it, and even giving personal gifts to frontline workers just to keep their spirits up. That is what leading from the front looks like. So let's pull all of this together and ask the big question. Why does any of this matter? What's the real legacy of the people's king? Well, it creates this incredible contrast with the traditional model of a monarch, right? That distant, ceremonial figurehead. What we're seeing in Bhutan is something totally different. A hands-on, accessible, and deeply empathetic leader who is actively involved in the day-to-day lives of his people. Ultimately, his entire reign is just this powerful, modern example of compassionate servant leadership. He's showing the world a model where power isn't defined by authority, but by service and a genuine connection to the people you lead. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. When you see a leader who prioritizes compassion, accessibility, and direct service to his people,
How might that start to reshape what we expect from leaders, not just in monarchies, but everywhere?